Welcome Average Joe Nation from around the globe. Props to you for staying up to date and keeping in the know. Fantasy football, man, very soon you'll reign. The knowledge that these three guys have, man, it is insane. Fantasy football talk, hateful eight, they wear the crown. Hold it down, Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli, hold it down. Pulling up to LB Design Studio, we're getting loud. Season 2, headphones on, red light go, break it down.
Welcome back to the Hateful Eight Fantasy Football Podcast with your host, I'm Pickle, and with me as always, Blackburn.
What it do?
And Trimboli.
What's going on?
Oh, man. This week we discuss some general news, injuries, and finally we get into the Week 1 games, specifically the Thursday night game in this episode.
Yes,
so
it's here.
It's finally Week 1 has arrived. So, as always, don't forget to follow the show's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. Now, on to Fantasy News and Notes.
Fantasy News and Notes.
All right, Fantasy News and Notes presented by Body Armor Super Drink, superior hydration for today's athlete. Check them out at drinkbodyarmor.com or your local convenience store. Some dollars were thrown around this week. Rams re-signed Aaron Donald to a 6-year deal, $135 million deal. Donald was the highest paid defensive player now in history. This is
For like a minute.
right. Until ... his buddy Raiders line ended up trading Khalil Mack to the Bears for two first-round draft picks, and the Bears ended up giving Mack a 6-year, $141 million deal. So
Crazy.
People are just getting paid.
Last week it was the offense. It was OBJ and Rodgers, and now it's Mack and Donald.
Did either of you guys see like the face, like Gruden's face, like when they were asking him, so why did you trade him for like little to nothing? And he's like, we tried. I mean, you could see like the sad disappointment that he tried to get Khalil Mack to sign. However, Khalil was not going to sign for the money they wanted him for.
Well, no, but as soon as Aaron Donald signed, they knew what they had to give up.
Yep.
Because he wasn't going to take less than that.
No.
But I wouldn't say 2 first-round picks are bad.
No, I don't think it was a bad deal.
Everyone keeps saying they save money. I get you're going to get extra players here, but these guys have guaranteed contracts and these first-round picks. I don't know if they're saving any money.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's going to be tricky what they got to do here.
It's more or less the Bears are, I think, in a win-now situation where I think this pretty much tells you that the Raiders are setting up for the future of winning.
I don't know.
Right
I
now.
mean, you bring in Doug Martin and you got Marshawn Lynch and Jordy Nelson. That to me, that's a win now, not rebuilding.
Right. That's what it makes no sense. But I'm just saying, by them not trying to get Khalil Mack back tells me that they're not trying to make this defense solid.
Well, no, I just think there was something underlining there between the Raiders and Mack to do that. I mean, because he's a perennial Pro Bowl player. You don't let a guy like that just walk out of the door.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what? They have all these first-round picks hoping to hit on a guy, and you hit on Khalil Mack.
Right.
So
give him the money that he's going to get. I mean, yeah, you're right. You're going to have to pay them 2 first-round picks. They're slot money for whatever. But I can guarantee unless you hit like a first or 5th overall pick, you're not going to get a Khalil Mack.
Right.
Man.
That talent.
Yeah, I don't know. So we'll have to see, but good for the Bears. I think that helps their defense. Their defense was actually pretty good last year. It was an under-the-radar kind of good team, if that makes sense. Like, they weren't like one of the top teams.
The Bears?
Yeah.
Their front 7, yeah.
So adding Khalil Mack, I think that makes it even better.
I forget what their odds were, but they jumped.
Yeah, it was 101.
That's okay.
And they jumped to 40-1.
That's what it was.
Khalil Mack has that much weight, too.
I don't know about all that.
But
you still got to score points.
This is true. Right. But maybe the defense holds a little bit better.
With the rookie they just drafted at Roquan Smith.
Yeah.
Bears, their defense is coming back.
They're a young team that's getting better, it seems like.
Well, when they were great, even with Rex Grossman at quarterback, it was all defense related.
True.
Well, it was
Urlacher
and Diggs, wasn't it? Was that his
Briggs,
name?
Lance Briggs.
Yep.
They had a solid defense, so it helped. I mean, if
go back to what worked.
Hey.
Now several teams are eyeing a trade for running back or quarterback for the Ravens. Robert Griffin III, per Ian Rappaport.
Crazy.
So RG3 has been officially named the backup ahead of Lamar Jackson, who has now been named number 3 on the depth chart. So
I can't believe there's teams out there looking at RG3.
I can't either.
For a trade.
Hey, I don't know.
Whatever floats your boat.
I guess. Now, the big news for the week.
Probably Seattle.
True. The big news for the week, 49ers running back Jerick McKinnon tore his ACL and will miss the season. So Alfred Morris and Matt Breida have now officially become fantasy relevant.
Yep.
I
don't like it, but they are.
I think that for standard purposes, I I think Alfred Morris for sure is the standard running back that you want. Matt Breida for sure is the PPR back that you want. And then it's kind of a toss-up, in my opinion, when you get to the middle where you get to the half PPR or whatever. So I just...
Well, Breida's still nursing a shoulder injury.
Correct. But they named him officially the starter.
Yep.
But I'm just saying, if you're on the team, if you've got a fantasy football team and you missed on Matt Breida, Alfred Morris is perfectly fine to pick up as a late stash to see what Matt Breida ends up doing with that offense. I still think that they're going to try to do the situation where Matt Breida is more of the pass catching back, the passing downs, where Alfred Morris is going to be your grinder, and he's going to be the one that kind of gets you the short yardage as well as those goal line runs. So Alfred Morris has upside for touchdowns, in my opinion, for the goal line now. So
I agree, but I think they're both a stash. I don't think they don't have any. I don't think they have value right out of the gate because we don't know how they're going to use it. This is going to be a 50-50 split. There's not going to be a lot of fancy points there.
No.
So I think we put a poll out there as to who you would like, regardless of the scoring. And Alfred Morris, I think, ended up being like a 54%. So it really wasn't that big of a difference. And surprisingly enough, a lot of people were. It was either you liked. I mean, it was very close, actually. Surprisingly enough, I thought that people were going to be one way or the other, honestly. But it was like a 50-50 split. So it'll be interesting to see going forward what the 49ers and Shanahan. I just think that, to me, Alfred Morris, I feel like, has an upper hand in the fact that because he knows Shanahan's offense, that's why they brought him in. They brought him in specifically because they wanted depth initially. Now he's coming in, and he's probably going to be, in some fashion, the bulk carrier. I just don't know what the bulk carrier is going to mean in that offense. That's the thing. Is it 6 carries? Is it 10 carries?
Right.
Is it 15? So... But honestly, if you can't get Matt Breida, Alfred Morris is fine. Or if someone in your league took Alfred Morris, Matt Breida is a fine pickup for a stash. If you can get them both, and you have that ability to stash them both because you drafted that way, go for it. But it's definitely a wait and see at the moment. But the Saints ended up signing free agent running back Mike Gillislee after cutting Jonathan Williams. So.
Just depth.
I don't know.
That's it.
Boston Scott is the backup to Alvin Kamara. I looked at the depth chart, so it probably depends on how quickly Mike Gillislee gets up to speed with that offense. But overall, I mean, it's still Kamara's backfield, and then it's just a complete mess behind him at the moment until Ingram gets back.
Right.
So there was all talks it was Jonathan Williams was going to be the guy, and then they...
I know, he was an interesting cut, but actually this Gillislee's a kind of a weird signing for me. But
right.
I think he might actually get more touches around the goal line.
They had Terrence West, too, at
right.
one point.
Right.
They cut him.
I think they're trying to find a guy to plug in there to be Mark Ingram. However, they're just not finding somebody who's able to be even close to what they want in that fill-in spot. That's what it comes down to.
Mark Ingram's a beast, though. I mean,
Right.
it's hard to replace. He's an RB1.
Right. Well,
it's hard to replace that.
Right, and I think that's what they're trying to grab. They're trying to find somebody to at least, I don't know, like maybe kind of closely follow in those footsteps, but ultimately it's Alvin Kamara's backfield. So
yeah.
And then the Chargers ended up signing, shockingly, free agent tight end Antonio Gates to a 1-year deal. Do you guys think it's a good move, or do you think that it's kind of no big deal?
I think it's just a placeholder.
Well, for the Chargers, I think it's a good move because he knows the playbook. He can play right away. I mean, they needed a tight end.
Right. Well, they're still holding out hope that Hunter Henry comes back, is what they said.
Right. Then
by putting him on the PUP and not the actual IR for a year tells me that they're hoping. But the best case scenario, I was talking to that Dr. Jesse Morris of the 101 Doctor podcast. He made it very clear. He said that in best case scenario, you're looking at like playoffs for Hunter Henry, like not fantasy playoffs, real NFL playoffs. So, and that's best case scenario, like accelerated, no setbacks of any kind. So,
right.
But to me, Antonio Gates signing is good for the Chargers offense. It's good for Phillip Rivers because him and Antonio Gates have that bond that they can throw. They know when like Gates knows when to run, what route to run. There's no concerns of any kind like that. To me, this is a bad move for Mike Williams because Mike Williams was going to be the red zone guy once Hunter Henry went down. So to me, it slides Mike Williams down a little bit. I just think that Antonio Gates is going to be only touchdown upside now.
Right.
But
I agree.
And then the Steelers running back Le'Veon Bell did not show up for practice on Monday, and he did not show up on Tuesday either. So he is still officially holding out for the Wednesday. I mean, basically, he has to show up Wednesday by a certain time. Otherwise, he's officially not available for Week 1. But I'm not 100% sold that if he shows up on Wednesday that they're going to play him on the game on Saturday or Sunday. I mean,
yeah, this is a tricky situation here. I don't know why he can't hold out when the Bengals play him, but that's a whole other situation. But
well, maybe he thinks that the Steelers' offense will be okay against the Browns, but
I think if Le'Veon shows up at any point this week, he's gonna play. Now, is he gonna be effective for your team? That I don't see happening. I think James Conner's who you need to roster, go get. He's probably the better play.
Right. And
at least for week 1.
Right. And whether you're the Le'Veon Bell fantasy owner or the guy you're playing maybe is the Le'Veon Bell owner, you might want to pick up James Conner, just saying, to stash him. And worst case scenario, he plays. Or worst case scenario, Bell comes in and plays, and it's a 50-50 split. Best case scenario, Bell doesn't play, and James Conner plays the whole game. So we'll see. I don't know. That's a bad situation for me. Right. I'm not, and most people drafted him probably in the number 1 or number 2 slot in their draft.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
It's hard to say don't play Bell because the kind of back he is. You know the game he could have.
Right.
It's just with him being out this long, it's hard to think he's just going to come in and hit the ground running.
Well, even last year, like we talked about off the show, he didn't show up till 1 week before the season.
Yeah, week
and
out.
He didn't turn into Le'Veon Bell until week 4 or 5.
And the stat line for game 1 was 10 carries for 32 yards and 3 receptions for 15 yards. I mean, that's not what you want from your the number 1 overall player.
No.
Right. Now, the Eagles quarterback Nick Foles has been named the starter for Thursday night against the Falcons. Carson Wentz apparently is not 100% and cleared to play. So this is something to keep an eye on. Whether you drafted Carson Wentz or not, to me it's a concerning thing because Carson Wentz had the whole offseason. He got hurt towards the back end of last year. So in theory, he should be okay. I'm just wondering if they're babying him to make sure that he's 100%, like literally there's no issues of any kind, no pains, no nothing, 100% ready to go. And you have the opportunity. You got Nick Foles to step in who won you your Super Bowl last year. Right. So I'm okay with Nick Foles playing and Carson Wentz sitting for another week just because it is what it is. You'd rather him for the season than play one game and re-injure something and be out for the whole year. So,
well, I'll tell you what, depending on how the Eagles start this season, Carson Wentz could sit a little longer if they're playing okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, it'll be interesting. Now, Bills running back LaShawn McCoy will not be placed on the commissioner's exempt list, so he is available and ready to play for week 1. So,
yay.
Get ready to get destroyed.
Yeah.
The offense that's not exciting. The offense is exciting to watch.
Old Peterman.
Yeah. That offense is trash or like Blackburn coin, hot garbage.
It is. It is bad.
It's terrible.
And the fact that they put Nathan Peterman as their quarterback is even worse. So,
anyways, if you guys play in Survivor Leagues, play against Buffalo every week.
Nathan Peterman's the quarterback.
What's that say about Josh Allen, though?
The more I've listened to beat writers, it sounds like they're trying that Sean McDermott is basically saying, I know it sounds bad, but from everything they're hearing, it sounds like they just don't want Josh Allen to get killed.
They just don't want to throw in the wolves.
Right. They want to continue to build his confidence and his abilities up while apparently letting Peterman get thrown to the
because McCarron got traded to the Raiders.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's a good sign for Josh Allen. He is the future. McCarron's now gone.
Right.
But I agree. I just don't think they want him killed yet, and he's still young. So
they don't want to Sam Bradford him.
No.
Like the Rams did.
Yep.
Jeez, man. Transactions this week: Buccaneers release running back Charles Sims with an injury settlement after they were talks about putting him on the IR. They ended up just releasing him. So
yeah.
49ers released Joe Williams. All the hype's gone. It's all Alfred Morris and Matt Breida in that backfield. And then the Bills release wide receiver Corey Coleman. The guy can't catch a break. You literally thought you're getting released from a team that's been pretty well known that they're crappy and they're getting better to a team that's just a complete spiraling down the drain, and you get cut by them. Like that's bad. Like that's bad to your
ego. You're telling me they couldn't have used Corey Coleman?
Well, there's got to be something else going on here. There's a big red flag for the Bills to cut you.
Right. So
I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I'm on the same page as you.
Ravens release wide receiver Brashad Perriman,
who's visiting the Jets today.
He had a pretty good pretty good preseason.
Yeah, whatever. It is.
There's just no depth there with John Brown, Willie Snead.
Willie Snead, you got Crabtree. That's pretty much it. So, no.
Yep.
As I say, I I don't know. That offense makes no sense anyways. Now, the Raiders did release Martavis Bryant, which...
He's about to be banned again.
Right. That's what I heard. It sounds like the Raiders were getting ahead of the curve and getting rid of him before they get their... before the league comes down on them because they have him on their roster. So,
yep. And in doing so, Raiders also signed Brandon LaFell.
All right. After some technical difficulties,
We're back,
and the Giants release quarterback Davis Webb. Nothing of excitement. That just tells me that he sucks.
I just noticed I put 1B. Like Webb, Beckham.
Like he's stuck in a web. Anyways,
He's that bad.
he's that bad.
You don't even get the second B.
The Jets signed him to their practice squad today.
Well, congratulations. That's like
You get to stay in New York, kind of.
You go to the minor leagues.
Hey, maybe
whatever.
they'll flip him too.
Right. All right. And the Broncos release quarterback Paxton Lynch.
Good God, that's garbage.
This
Dude.
guy is horrible.
I feel bad for him, kind of. I mean,
Really? You
first
did?
round draft pick to getting benched for this guy, that guy, and then all of a sudden they're like, all right, we're done. John Elway's like, I made a mistake.
I made a mistake. Here. Anyways,
I just thought LA could pick better quarterback.
Elway's
talent.
got horse teeth.
there you
I get
go.
it.
See, he got it. You just kept moving on.
He got them Bronco teeth.
Jeez,
All right. Let's get into the next
cutthroat around here.
Let's get into the main segment of the day, which is the Thursday night primer.
This is the Thursday Night Primer.
All right, Thursday night primer presented by Fantasy Football, the one and only Magic 8 Ball for fantasy football. 20 custom answers to help you make those critical start-sit decisions in the Sunday morning agony. Head over to fantasyfootball.com. Use promo code HATEFUL8 for $5 off your purchase. All right, so the Thursday night game, which is the Falcons versus the Eagles. We decided to go ahead and do the good, the bad, the ugly. So basically guys that should be solid plays, guys that you're probably not going to play or we're telling you please don't play, and guys that may not be as Trimboli uses the phrase, the sexiest pick, but he may actually help you win your week because he gets you a decent amount of fantasy points.
Yeah,
It's a weekly play.
the next day you can wake this one up. You don't have to gnaw your arm off.
Yes.
Yes. It's not somebody that you're going to latch onto for the whole season. It's just a guy that you see the matchup and you're like, okay, you know what? For this week, I'll play you. So
There's no ring in sight for this player.
no. So, all right. So I did the good player for the week, and my player is Nelson Aguilar. So the big reason, now I've got some notes. I went ahead and looked him up. The biggest thing for Nelson Aguilar for me is the fact that there's no Alshon Jeffrey more than likely.
Right.
Mac Hollins is apparently not fully healthy, but he's going to play, but that doesn't mean anything. So, whatever. And then you got Jay Ajayi is not 100%. Corey Clement's coming off of injury. And you got Nick Foles. So, I'm just saying somebody's got to get the pass caught, and catch passes in that offense, and Zach Ertz can't do the whole thing.
Yeah, don't forget about Mike Wallace. He'll have like 3 receptions, but don't forget about it.
I was going to say, I've penciled in Nelson Aguilar to have around 10 fantasy points for this week. And that's just because of volume and opportunity because no Alshon Jeffrey. With Alshon Jeffrey being in there, I think he would slide down to maybe like 6 or 7. And this is in half-point PPR. So
Right.
I'd figure him in about 5 or 6 fantasy points if Alshon was in there. But because Alshon's not, and the 2 main catching receivers in that offense now are going to be Nelson Aguilar and Zach Ertz. So I just think that he's a solid play this week, and it might until Alshon comes back, he's a solid play on a weekly basis because he's the wide receiver 1 in that offense now.
He's a necessity now for him.
Right. So to me, somebody's got to be out there running routes, and I just think that the other 2 guys, like you mentioned, Mac Hollins and Mike Wallace, aren't going to be really that factored in as much. So, and Nelson Aguilar had 8 touchdowns last year, so he knows how to score. And if anything else, you got Zach Ertz could be the chain mover. Jay Ajayi's running the ball, and him and Corey Clement can figure in some way. And eventually, they're gonna need to open up the offense. And Nelson Aguilar has got speed and he can run over the top. So why not? But that's just my guy for the Thursday night game specifically.
No,
So.
you don't have to pitch him to me because when I heard Jeffrey was down, I went after Aguilar in drafts. So,
Yeah.
At least early.
Yeah, you got to. I mean, if nothing else, he's in a viable, like you said, a viable play until Alshon Jeffrey's back. So, all right, you had the bad Blackburn. So
I did.
Who is the guy that you're telling everyone to please avoid, do not play this week?
Tight end Austin Hooper.
Hoopa.
I mean, he's a good tight end, don't get me wrong, but I think he's more of a blocking tight end anyway than a receiving tight end.
Yes.
But in Atlanta, I mean, you got Julio, Sanu,
Ridley,
the 2 running backs. I mean, there's not enough, balls to go around.
I like that.
So stay away from Austin Hooper this week.
Yeah, it's just not a good match.
And this season in general. If you got Austin Hooper, you'd probably be better off streaming tight ends. I'm just going to be honest.
Well,
This is true.
He's a stream candidate. So
He's definitely a matchup based, and I'm just not a fan of him this week. So Thursday night, short week, and like you said, all the other guys that are going to be are healthy. Now, if some of these pass catchers go down with injuries, then maybe he slides up a little bit into like the being used wise, like options like for targets. But I mean, he's like a younger version of Antonio Gates. He's literally just a touchdown only guy. That's
Except
literally
slower.
it.
right. Well, how about this? Thursday night games never really produce huge fantasy
Right.
points. So
Unless you're at marquee
yeah.
positions.
True.
So why even play the guy that the
Right.
tight end that's not going to score a lot outside of Gronk?
True. So, and then the ugly for Trimboli is the guy that you may, like we said, isn't maybe the sexiest play for the week, but he's probably going to get you some points and maybe enough to win you the week.
Right. There's actually 2 in mind here, but the one I went with was Sanu.
Yes.
I just think he's the second option now in Atlanta. They're going to have to go somewhere. He's a guy I like. But also, don't forget about Tevin Coleman. He does play well against Philadelphia. They have a very strong defense against the run, but he's always an option for them.
Oh, yeah, very much so. I mean, we talked about this. Tevin Coleman is like him and Ingram, and some of these guys are like the exception to the handcuff rule. They have like their clear-cut role in this offense, and if the game starts opening up, and because the Eagles are down on injury purposes, if the Falcons are opening up the playbook and they're just scoring, early and often, I just think that you could see Coleman and Freeman just kind of being game managers in the second half, and they're just running the clock out with these 2 guys. So, and if nothing else, Coleman usually is good for like at least 4 or 5 receptions and like 50 yards and maybe a touchdown.
Right.
So why not? I like it. So that's basically for the Thursday night game. Now, I will tell you, and this is just my personal, and you guys can talk about what you guys do for the Thursday night games for players. Unless they are a stud player that you know that you are not going to have any question as to that they're playing or not, do not put a Thursday night player in your flex spot, because that's a boo-boo.
I agree.
That's an uh-oh, because if it comes Sunday afternoon for the 4 o'clock games or the Sunday night game, and you've already put so-and-so in the flex, that spot is now locked. You cannot play anybody in that spot, and now you might have to decide between 2 good guys that you were thinking, oh, well, I could play him in the flex, but you didn't move. We'll just say Mohamed Sanu. Mohamed Sanu in this case, or even Nelson Aguilar, would be a wide receiver 2 on a roster. If you only have 2 wide receivers, or even 3 wide receivers in your roster, but you don't put them in the flex for this game.
Well, let's just, like I just said, so Sanu and Coleman are the stream plays or the plays that could win you. They're both from 2 opposite positions. If you play someone in the flex early, then when it comes to this game, you don't have the option of picking both. You can only pick the one.
Right. I just, to me personally, I think you guys it sounds like you agree that you don't put a Thursday night guy in the flex unless you really, really have to. But
I agree.
Now, defense and kickers, surprisingly enough, I did some stat checking last year, and I looked again after last season, and defense and kickers seem to be outside of like the like you said, the perennial stud guys that you're going to play for sure. The defense and kickers actually score really well on these Thursday night games because it's a short week, and usually offenses aren't as high-powered as they normally are. So defenses get a little bit more points. Kickers are able to kick the ball a little bit more because of the scoring not happening as much. So if you got a defense, either the Falcons or the Eagles defense, I would probably pick the Falcons defense in this game just because of the Eagles offense. You might get an opportunity where you get some points. But
I agree.
No?
No, I like. Listen, if you're gonna pick a defense, it's gonna probably be Atlanta. I know Philadelphia overall is a better defense, but I don't know about their offense right now. Everyone's banged up. So.
Right.
Yeah, they're gonna be on the field a lot.
Right.
That's the concern. So, all right. Well, that's all we got for this week's Thursday night primer. So we just want to tell you guys thanks again for tuning into the show today via the podcast and YouTube. Please check out our site, thehateful8ff.com, where you can find our weekly in-season articles. And don't forget to check out the online store as well. Follow our personal accounts at jpickleTH8FF, at jblackburnTH8FF, and at ftrimTH8FF. Don't forget to join the Average Joe Nation and support the show via the Patreon tab on the site, where you can get your in-season weekly help now. Already got the guys that have drafted, that use our draft cheat sheet, got them set up, and they're ready to go for week 1, and All 3 of their rosters are looking really solid. I mean, they've got multiple rosters within the league help, but yeah.
Good.
So they're ready to go for week 1. So anything else?
Nope. That's it. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks again, and we will see you on the week 1 episode coming on later this week. So we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, no. Don't you know?
One more time. There ain't no one like these 3.
I just need to go to the bench. I'm done. Don't even put me in the flex.
Yeah, there's no stream for you.
No.
You're just,
The ugly.
yeah.
Don't put me in the
Oh, no,
flex
that's
this
a
week.
bad.
So wear that ring. Prepare for the draft and dial in on your craft. Quarterback, the first round is a good choice, you ask? This guy's got first round pick, a favorite? Not so fast. He failed to tune into Hateful Eight.